Hey everyone, coming to you from Gwinnett County Public Library's Five Forks branch. I want to welcome you all to Cooking with Chef Jeff, a GCPL culinary series. Now, obviously, I'm Chef Jeff, and today we're going to be celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. And how I'm going to do that is by cooking and showing you how to prepare one of my favorite dishes that my wife makes for me. She's actually from Mexico, so I get the real deal. Now, what this dish is called Tacos Dorados, and it's either a potato or potato and chicken taco. I'm going to be preparing the potato taco version today, and it's absolutely fantastic. So, I'm kind of tired of talking about it. I'd really like to get to it because my mouth's already watering thinking about it. So let's get to it, guys. Now, when cooking tacos dorados, you have to prepare a couple of different things, and some of them can be prepared in advance, so it's not going to take a whole lot of time at dinner time. So we're going to have to prepare a salsa verde, which is the green sauce when you go out to like a Mexican food place. We'll have to prepare the potatoes themselves, which will be boiled and peeled. And then we're also going to have to prepare a pico de gallo, okay? And so the first thing I'm going to start with is the salsa verde, and that's because it takes a little bit of time to cook. And again, it's one of those parts that can be prepared in advance. Now, with the salsa verde, we're going to be starting with tomatillos, all right? They kind of look like little green tomatoes, but they're not. They're actually a member of the gooseberry family, and they're a little more tart than a tomato, and also a little sticky on the outside. They're very excellent, though. And what we're going to do with those to prepare this salsa verde is we're just going to put them, a little bit of jalapeno, and when I use the jalapeno, I normally use half and half, half without seed, half with seed, because I really love the flavor of the jalapenos, but I'll be honest, I'm a little sensitive when it comes to the heat, but you can use them all with seeds if you'd like. And also there's a clove of garlic in there, okay? And we're gonna bring this pot up to a boil for just a few minutes until the tomatillos are nice and soft, but before they start to get mushy, okay? Because the longer you cook these, the kind of dark, really dark green brown they're gonna become. So we wanna cook them just as much time as needed. Now this pot of water is already up to a simmer. I don't want to put them in cold water because they're going to cook forever. And by the time they actually get cooked, they're going to be that brown color. And while that is coming to a boil, what I need to do is I need to peel my potatoes. Now, for this dish, I like to use a smaller white potato. And what I've already done is I went ahead and boiled these with the skin on for about 45 minutes until they're all the way tender and the skin just pops off a little bit. You can do that covered or uncovered, but just make sure they're completely submerged in water. All right? And as you can see, the skin peels off really easy because I cooked them thoroughly. Now, with these, you'd really have to boil them forever to overcook them. So, don't try to time it just right to where they're just tender, because if you do that, some of the bigger ones will be hard. Some of the smaller ones, might be good, but you want all the potatoes to be nice and soft. What I'm going to do, I got a little eye in here, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. I just want that nice white flesh. Now my pot of water just came to a boil. So I'll give you guys a time on that to make sure you guys know, but it's normally need to boil for about 5 minutes, not too long. And unlike what I would normally do if I was cooking green vegetables, I might have an ice bath nearby so I could stop the cooking right away and I'd dump out the water and all that, but I'm not going to do that in this situation. I'm just going to pull them out and reserve a little bit of that cooking liquid to actually blend the salsa with. And also, when it comes to tomatillos, there are normally two main varieties you're going to see at the store. And it's kind of like a lime where you've got regular Persian limes, and then you have like key limes that are much smaller. It's the same situation. You've got these little tiny baby tomatillos, and then you've got slightly bigger ones. My mother-in-law always tells me it's best to use a combination of both, because peeling the little guys is going to take you forever, but the bigger tomatillos can be a little bitter, so you want to have a nice balance of the two. See here, it's already smelling great. You can really, the smell of the tomatillo and the garlic and the jalapeno is really just permeating the air. It's boiling already for about 3 minutes. And you can see they're starting to turn just a deeper, like more olive shade of green. And once they get a little past that color, that's when you know they're nice and tender and ready to blend. And in my other videos, you always probably hear me talk about taking the stems off of herbs. Now, I'm a big proponent of that because obviously the leaves are where all the flavors are. But cilantro is a little different in that regard. The stems of cilantro are very tender and they have a whole lot of flavor. So it's not something you need to discard. I'll actually use the entire bunch, or it's not an entire bunch, but I'll use the stems and leaves and all in my salsa. Give these a little mix, just to make sure they're cooking nice and even. What I'm going to do here too is I'm just going to mash these potatoes up just a bit and put a little bit of salt in them. You know, if you've ever gone out to a restaurant and you've been eating and you've gotten like a steak or something and the sauce is really salty but the meat doesn't really have any flavor, that's because they didn't really balance the seasoning throughout. And whenever I'm cooking, I love to make sure everything is seasoned right. Now, what does that mean? You know, I just want to make sure I have enough salt so the flavors really come out of everything, instead of, let's say, a salty sauce and then a steak that doesn't have a lot of seasoning on it. Salt here, like I said, I'm just going to put a little bit. And this, like I was saying earlier, this potato mixture is actually going to be the filling for the taco itself. And there we go. That's ready to go. Now, after I boil the potatoes, I don't want to wait for them to cool off completely. I just want to wait for them to cool off enough until I can handle them. And the reason why is once the potatoes fully cool off, they're going to be really hard to handle and really tough. And it's just going to make it more difficult for you. The tomatillos now have been boiling for about 5 minutes. And they're really getting that nice deep olive green. You actually see here they're starting to bust, which is perfect. That's where I want them. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to take them out of the liquid without draining it. Then I'm going to use a little bit of this cooking liquid since it's got all that jalapeno, tomatillo, garlic flavor. Take just a bit of it, and I'm going to add it as the liquid that I'm going to need to puree it. And always never forget, you always got to season throughout the process. nice little bunch of cilantro in here. And everybody always thinks, oh, salsa verde or pico de gallo, it's got to have a bunch of lime to it. But it actually doesn't. The tomatillos are naturally very tart. And so you get that nice acidic quality like you would from lime juice without ever having to add any lime juice to it. My blender, I'm always going to start it on low to get all my ingredients a chance to start spinning. Then as it's going, I'll turn it up to high just to get a nice smooth puree. That there. Gonna give the salsa a little taste to make sure it doesn't need any more. Make sure it doesn't need any more salt. Oh no, it's fantastic. And what you'll notice is the salsa will look a little thinner when it's really hot like this. Okay, and you can see it's kind of liquidy, but as it sits, it's going to thicken up a bit, and that's because tomatillos have a lot of pectin in them, which is the same stuff that will make sure that when you make like a jelly, pectin is the same thing that thickens up a jelly. So as it comes down in temperature a little bit, it's going to get thicker. Next thing we're going to have to do for our tacos is we're going to have to warm our tortillas. Okay? And now the thing with warming your tortillas is I'm going to do it in a pan here today, but typically it'd be done on what's called a comal, okay? And a comal is essentially like a pan, almost like a pancake pan. It's very broad. It has no lip to it, no handle, no long handle like this, maybe just a short one on the side like this. And in Mexican cooking, they use it to heat up all their tortillas. They use it to toast chilies when they're making other red salsas. They use it to, some people will make salsa verde with chilies that are on the comal. Again, most comals aren't ferrous, which means that they won't conduct with these induction burners, so I'm just using a pan in this situation. One of the big advantages is I could fit 3 or 4 tortillas on one comal, where I'm only going to get one in here more than likely. And I want to get it decently hot because what most people don't know is tortillas are cooked, but cooked at the factory. But before you toast them on the comal, they have a little bit of a weird texture to them. They're not as pliable. Well, once you heat them up and toast them on the comal, they've just got this beautiful, slightly crispy, slightly firm texture that's going to allow them to hold up and not break apart. It's almost like they're kind of dry right now. Should be hot enough. And in this situation, I'm going to be using a white corn tortilla. I'm not going to tell you yellow corn's going to taste different. I argue with my wife about this all the time, but the way she makes it, I love to eat it, so I'm going to do it that way. You can see the tortilla picked up just a little bit of color, but it's not burnt or anything. And now I'm doing this with my hands, but that's because I have the experience. I have been, what do they say in, what does Bane tell him in Batman, that he was initiated? I've been initiated and can pick them right up. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can use tongs also. Now there are plenty of brands of tortillas out there. One of my favorites is actually a local company local to Atlanta. You can normally find, you might not be able to find it in like a Publix, but if you find a carniceria or a mercado near your house, they'll definitely be there, and what they're called is El Milagro. They're actually over in Doraville. They've got a factory over there. It's a great tortilla. They've got all different shapes, sizes, flour, corn, big ones, little ones, yellow corn, white corn. You can get just about anything you want. Now, if the tortilla sticks, it's probably because either your pan's dirty or it's not hot enough. The tortillas shouldn't stick because they've already been cooked on the outside. But as you can see, now that they're cooked, they're nice and pliable without breaking. That's what we're looking for here. Something else important here is when you're heating up tortillas, you want to make sure they don't dry out if you're heating them up in batches. That's why they use these little plastic containers or whatever they're made out of, whichever one you have at home. It's to help keep them moist so they don't dry out and become brittle again or become hard. Now we are going to fill our tortillas in just a moment here. And we're just going to fill them with this potato mixture. And this is super simple. You can use your hand, you can use a spoon, either way. I prefer a spoon because it's a little cleaner. You're just going to put a little bit of potato mixture right in the center. Okay? And you want to leave plenty of space because we're going to have a lot of great toppings for this. And if you fill it up too much, you won't be able to get all your toppings in there like you want to. Tortilla wanted to go to the potato instead of the potato coming to the tortilla on that one. Now, the first time my wife made these for me, I think it was during Lent, and she actually made them with just potato. I have a lot of people that will eat them with chicken as well. I just love them just the way they are, like this, no protein or anything, just the potato and all the great toppings. But if you want to, you can do them with protein also. Now, during the next step, what we're going to do is we're actually going to fry them a little bit, okay? And we don't want our pan to be too hot because we're trying to get a little color on the outside without burning them or turning them super crunchy. When you're doing this, it's good to use like a vegetable oil. Or if you only have it around the house, just make sure to use something like canola, vegetable, even just like a very light olive oil if that's all you cook with is olive oil. I'm going to put it right back in the pan that I was cooking my tortillas in. And you just want enough so that the tortilla is frying on one side at a time. You're not going to be like deep frying these like you would, chicken or fried green tomatoes. And this is going to be a little messy, so be ready to clean. I can see my oil is already starting to shimmer a little bit because this pan was already hot. So this is going to be pretty quick. Now with the tortillas folded over like into a half moon, I'm going to set them in here, and the tortilla is bubbling already, but it's not this super explosive deep frying. It's just a nice gentle bubble there. While that's going, I'm going to make our pico de gallo. Now, I know I had pico de gallo over the years from places I will not name, and it always had crazy amounts of things in it. You've got jalapenos and lime juice. Some people put garlic. Some people put chili powder. The way that my wife's family makes it is just four very simple ingredients: chopped Roma tomatoes. And using Roma tomatoes here is important because Roma tomatoes are a little smaller, a little more tender, a little sweeter. It's going to give you a better tomato flavor. Use white onion. Again, whenever I've gone out, I always see, or even before meeting my wife, it was always red onion, never white. But they got me on the right page with that. And then chop cilantro. Because the whole idea of this is we're not trying to accentuate a million different ingredients. We just want some great tasting tomatoes. And don't forget, like I always say, just a little bit of salt to season. You know, the important thing about salt is it doesn't just make food taste salty. It actually enhances the flavors of everything around it. I'm just going to give that a mix. This is another thing that can be done in advance. When you do it in advance, you do it a couple hours ahead of time, so that way you're not sitting there messing around with a million things. You know, you can fill your tacos, you can make your pico de gallo, you can make your salsa verde. So now when it comes to dinner time, when everyone gets home, all you have to do is fry your tacos. God, it smells great. You can just smell that cilantro, that fresh cilantro. You can see here my tortillas are starting to pick up a little bit of color. I'm going to let them fry a little bit longer. Can you hear the sizzling? That's when you know it's going to be good. It's good to, when you're frying in a pan like this, even if it's shallow frying, you want to make sure you have a nice heavy bottom pan. If you're using a really thin or flimsy frying pan, what's going to end up happening is you'll have hot spots throughout. And so this taco might be golden brown while this taco is still pale white, just because it wasn't hot enough. So you always want to make sure to have a heavy bottom pan and move your products around a little bit. There we go. Now my tacos have a nice color to them. So I'm going to flip them and fry them on the other side. And again, we're looking for a little structure here. We're not looking to turn them into a name that will not be mentioned, very common, voted best Mexican food restaurant in America. We're not talking about their hard tacos that are, taste like cardboard. We just want something with a little bit of bite to it. Normally at the house I actually keep a gallon of peanut oil that I use for whether I'm deep frying making some French fries, making some fried chicken. You can keep that and just use that. You don't want to use it for too long because as you continue to cook with it, it's going to pick up flavors. And this is one of those dishes that is so incredibly simple, quick, and easy. But one of the important things with that is you want all the flavors to come through beautifully. You don't want to adulterate them and have all these extra flavors. So this is one thing I'll normally use fresh oil for. Although, I'll be honest, I don't cook these at home a lot. My wife knows it's one of my favorite things, so she makes them for me. Some folks will make these into like little rolled tacos too, or taquitos. I always like them like this because I can get all my ingredients inside and, just munch down on the taco. You can see now my tortillas are nice and crispy on both sides. So I'm going to let them drain just a little bit and pull them out of the oil. And again, if you're at home, it's better to use tongs. I have, my hands aren't quite as sensitive as a normal person's. All right. Now we'll get to it. This is the part you've all been waiting for, and I've been waiting for too. So I'm going to take a little bit of this salsa here. I'll drizzle it on the potato. Take a little bit of my pico de gallo with all those fresh onions, fresh tomatoes, fresh cilantro. Put it in there. We'll either use sour cream or Mexican crema. Today I've got sour cream, but they're pretty similar. The Mexican crema is going to be a lot creamier. The sour cream's nice though because it's got a good balance of salt in it. Whoop. Put a little bit of the sour cream, and then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of queso fresco, which is a fresh Mexican crumbling cheese. It doesn't really have a good equivalent in American cooking, so I can't really tell you, oh, it's similar to this like with a lot of cheeses. It's just its own thing, but it's a very nice, white, mild cheese. It's not like mozzarella, which is very stringy. So it's really its own little animal there. And there you have it. Just a very simple taco. Great for a meatless Monday, great for Taco Tuesday, great for I just want tacos because it's Friday. Doesn't really matter to me. Super simple, very quick, very light, very fresh. Again, probably one of my favorite things, Hispanic, I've ever eaten. So thank you all for joining today. Again, this has been a Gwinnett County, we're here at Gwinnett County Public Library at the Five Forks branch. This has been a GCPL culinary series. And I'm glad you're with us today, and I can't wait to have you next time, okay? Have a great one.